We saw what appeared to be a lot better game from Caleb Williams. He looked a lot more comfortable in the pocket. When the pocket broke down, he was scrambling. He was picking up yards. He looked more like a veteran out there than he did a rookie. And I think Chicago needed to see that. But nonetheless, they come away with the loss. Richard, how does this happen for Chicago? How do they turn the tides here? Because they had this game and they lost it.
Well, they just don't know how to finish. And you do have to give Caleb Williams a lot of credit. He looked really good. The offensive line looked better. The entire offense looked better. DeAndre Swift had a really cool touchdown run where he made a corner miss in the open field, got loose, got busy. Caleb Williams was making plays with his legs, but he wasn't depending on it. And you saw him rush the ball. You saw him go out there and use his legs to really put the defense in jeopardy and put the defense on its heels and really make them adjust, make them have to account for his legs in a way that he hadn't really been doing throughout the season as much as he could. And I think that opened up some plays for him. He was getting the ball out quick on time. Even when he's looking left, sometimes he glanced back right and hit the check down for a lot of yards because the defense is moving with him. And I thought he looked really solid, coming off a really tough game, some tough conversations in that locker room. Teammates really frustrated with his performances in the past games. So I thought this was really a step forward for this team. It just sucks that they weren't able to finish, because in a game like that, that's how you take the next step. You kick that field goal, you win it, and you're talking about a team that may sneak into the playoffs, the team that's feeling confident that they can beat anyone. And that defense is playing like a defense that can play with anyone. But they didn't. The field goal got blocked. Carl Brooks blocked the game-winning field goal, got his fingertip on it, and that's all you need at that distance to be able to get it. Jordan Love, though, he's a risk taker, and he's a guy that's reckless with the football, and he's thrown interception in 8 straight games, 11 on the season, and I don't even think he hasn't played every game. He's missed 2 games in this season. So that's something that I'm concerned about the Green Bay Packers. This is a good win for them. They're 7-3, keeping up with your Detroit Lions in the division race. Minnesota Vikings are also up there at I think they're 8-2 now. So this NFC North is really starting to heat up and look like one of the best divisions, if not the best division in football. But if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, you have to be concerned about these interceptions, because that is what ended your season last year. At the hands of the San Francisco 49ers, 2 Jordan Love interceptions in the clutch is what ended your season. So he has as many interceptions now as he did through the entire season last year, and he has to get that fixed. These aren't just like tipped interceptions at the line of scrimmage or lucky plays by guys, or hey, it bounced off the receiver's hands and got interception. These are balls he's throwing to defenders, and he has to get that fixed. I like how they leaned on Josh Jacobs throughout the game. 18 carries for 76 yards, even got involved in the pass game. 4 carries, took some short passes and made them big gains. I think that's going to be positive for him. Christian Watson had his best game, 4 catches for 150 yards. Rashawn Gary made some plays on defense. Our guy Xavier McKinney was not able to get Caleb Williams this time, even though he's gotten just about everybody else. But I thought this was a rare kind of win-win for both teams. It's good for, I'm sure Chicago feels a lot better about themselves and about their team than they did coming into this game. And I'm sure Green Bay is thankful to be able to get out of this game where they didn't play as well as they possibly can with the win. Green Bay has a tough game against the San Francisco 49ers, who are reeling right now after that loss to Seattle in Green Bay. The Bears have a tough game against the Minnesota Vikings, who are rolling 8-2, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams. So he better keep getting that ball out fast.
They finally scored a touchdown. I mean, they went 26 drives without one, Richard, and they're on a 4-game losing streak. I know you could say you can take away, some feel goods after losing this game close, but it's a 4-game losing streak, and it all started with that Hail Mary against the Washington Commanders when Tyreek Stevenson was celebrating over there or doing whatever he was doing with the crowd. I mean, how long does a loss like that carry over? Because this Bears team was 4-2, and now they're 4-6, and we're talking about feel-good losses.
Yeah, I mean, but they weren't expected to be anything like that, Mitchell, this year. They weren't. You're not drafting the quarterback that high, and I mean, their draft pick was what, 9 or 10, but you're not drafting top 10 and making the playoffs many times. There are teams that have done it, but they had a really good defense, and they have a really good defense, but there's still ways to go offensively, especially offensive line and the quarterback. You got a young quarterback that has to develop. I think they're starting to figure out the rhythm that he needs to be in, where they have to run the ball with DeAndre Swift. They have to lean on the run game and then let Caleb Williams go. You can't just sit there and drop back with Caleb Williams and have the run game as a second as an afterthought. That can't be the way you approach games. And I think at least they're figuring that rhythm out. I think they're showing signs of life. Maybe they can get hot and win some games that they won't be favored in down the stretch and sneak into the playoffs, but they really needed this one for their confidence going forward. But yeah, I mean, I guess it does linger. I mean, there's nothing else to say about that. They're 0-4 since that game, so clearly it's having some carryover effects.
Let's go to the Minnesota Vikings. I know they played the Tennessee Titans today, but this team is now 8-2, and Sam Darnold gets back on track a bit, throwing for 246 yards, 2 touchdowns. Richard, I know we talked about the Minnesota Vikings and their fall off of the last couple of weeks. Like, how much do you believe in this team? Because this NFC North division, I mean, they're dominating the league right now. The Minnesota Vikings are 8-2. The Green Bay Packers are 7-3. The Detroit Lions are 9-1. We're potentially seeing 3 teams to the north going into this playoffs. How much do you believe in the Minnesota Vikings, albeit against the Tennessee Titans today?
I mean, defense translates, and Andrew Van Ginkel had 2 sacks in the game. He's got 8 on the season. They're putting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. They're getting a lot of turnovers. I think that translates, and they're going to make it tough. Offensively, they got a very competent coordinator in Kevin O'Connell, head coach coordinator. He calls a really great game, and every time you talk to a defender who's gone against him, they talk about his creativity, the acumen he has, the creativity within the game, making plays look like other plays, but then having pretty much counters off of it. And so if they can get to the playoffs and they get the right matchup, I think they can do damage. And I think every team in NFC North has that story. If they can play well enough, this defense has a lot of unknown guys making huge plays and just fitting in this system like hand in glove. So yeah, I think this is going to be a dangerous team down the stretch. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do during the playoffs.